or certain actors the world sees as untouchable, perfect, composed, beyond harm. And then there is Benedict Cumberbatch, a man whose brilliance feels effortless, yet whose life has survived trauma, isolation, fear, heartbreak, and emotional cost the world never witnessed. People see the roles, the awards, the polished interviews, the quiet composure, but behind that calmness, behind the carefully measured sentences, behind the elegance and intelligence, is a man shaped by shadows. A man who carries the weight of unspoken battles, a man whose sensitivity became both his greatest gift and his deepest wound. This is his story, a story of survival, a story of brilliance, a story of a man who gave the world everything and lost pieces of himself along the way. Chapter 1. Born into the audience of his own life. Benedict Timothy Carlton Cumberbatch came into the world surrounded by actors. His parents, Timothy Carlton and Wanda Ventham, were well respected in the British acting world. They worked hard, they struggled often, and they knew exactly how painful fame can be. So they wanted something different for their son, something safer, something stable. But Benedict wasn't like other children. He wasn't loud. He wasn't wild. He was gentle, observant, alarmingly intelligent. He watched people the way scientists watch stars, with fascination, with distance, with the sense that he was seeing something others didn't notice. His mother recalled that Benedict, even as a toddler, would stare at adults as if absorbing their entire identity. He wasn't trying to mimic them. He was trying to understand them. That understanding, that sensitivity, would one day make him a world-class actor. But as a child, it made him isolated. Other kids played soccer. Benedict memorized voices. Other kids fought for attention. Benedict watched instead. It wasn't loneliness he felt. It was displacement, like he had arrived in a world he was not built for. Chapter 2. Harrow, a world of wealth without warmth. When Benedict was sent to Harrow School, one of Britain's most prestigious institutions, everyone assumed he would thrive. But reality was different. Elite schools are built on hierarchy, dominance, confidence, social power. Benedict had none of that. He had softness, he had depth, he had imagination, a gift that elite teenagers have no patience for. He was surrounded by boys who were groomed for government, wealth, aristocracy. And here was Benedict, gentle, sensitive, artistic, introspective. He didn't speak their language. He didn't laugh at their jokes. He didn't chase popularity. And for that, he suffered quiet teasing, isolation, subtle cruelty, the kind that doesn't make headlines but leaves scars that last a lifetime. He learned how to hide his emotions, how to fold himself smaller, how to put on a mask just to survive the day. It was in Harrow's polished hallways that Benedict learned. Authenticity is dangerous. Sensitivity is weakness. Emotion is vulnerability. Those lessons would follow him for decades. Chapter 3. The mind that wouldn't stop thinking. While other teenagers were trying to fit in, Benedict was drowning in thought. He developed a mind that wouldn't turn off, a brain constantly analyzing the world, interpreting everyone's motives, absorbing emotional energy that wasn't his. His teachers noticed the pressure building inside him. He felt everything, too deeply, too intensely. His sensitivity was a superpower, but for a teenage boy, it felt like a curse. It's why he gravitated toward acting. Acting gave him a place to put all that emotion, all that intuition, all that empathy. It allowed him to express the feelings he had spent years burying. Acting became his release, his escape, his way to breathe again. Chapter 4. The Year of Quiet Transformation, Tibet. At 18, instead of rushing into acting school, Benedict did something unexpected. He left England and traveled to Tibet. There, among monks and mountains, he taught English and learned silence. It was the first time in his life he tasted real peace. No pressure, no cruelty, no expectations, no judgment. For the first time, Benedict felt like he belonged somewhere, not because of who he was, but because of who he didn't have to be. He learned meditation, he learned patience, he learned presence, but he also learned something heartbreaking. Peace is temporary, and the world rarely lets sensitive souls remain untouched. He returned to England with a new calmness, and a new fragility, a kind of spiritual softness that the world was not ready to protect. Chapter 5. The Night He Was Unmade, South Africa, 2005. Benedict was filming to the ends of the earth. He and two friends were driving late at night when the car broke down on a deserted road. What began as a minor inconvenience became the defining trauma of his life. Headlights appeared, a truck pulled up, men with guns surrounded them. Benedict didn't even have time to react. He was thrown to the ground, beaten, tied up with rope, forced into the back of a vehicle. He described it later. I felt like I was being unmade, not killed. Unmade, piece by piece. They drove into the desert for hours. Benedict thought he would die. He thought of his parents, his unfinished dreams, the roles he would never play, the life he would never live. When the men suddenly let him go, he stumbled barefoot through the sand, shaking, crying, broken. That night didn't just traumatize him, it rewired him. It changed the way he moved, the way he breathed, the way he spoke, the way he viewed humanity. People wondered why Benedict always seems calm, gentle, composed. It's because when you've seen death, nothing else feels worth panicking about. Chapter 6. Becoming Sherlock. The role that owned him when Benedict auditioned for Sherlock Holmes, he didn't chase the role. The role chased him. He didn't just play Sherlock, he merged with him. Sherlock's brilliance mirrored Benedict's intellect. Sherlock's isolation mirrored Benedict's childhood. Sherlock's emotional repression mirrored Benedict's trauma. For Benedict, Sherlock was not acting, it was exposing. It was revealing every part of himself he had spent years hiding. Sherlock made him famous, globally famous, dangerously famous. Fans worshipped him, strangers stalked him, media chased him, directors fought over him. Fame came like a tidal wave, beautiful to watch and devastating to survive. Benedict once said, "I felt like a machine being switched on and off." Because Sherlock didn't just make him a star, it made him a product, a commodity, a performance machine, a public obsession. And Benedict, the sensitive boy who once sought peace in Tibet, was now trapped in a world that never stopped demanding more. Chapter 7. The Imitation Game and the Role That Shattered Him. Playing Alan Turing was the emotional breaking point. Turing was brilliant, gentle, misunderstood, isolated, persecuted, destroyed by society. Benedict saw himself in Turing, too much of himself. The pain wasn't fictional, it was familiar. He didn't perform the emotional scenes, he lived them. He carried Turing's grief into his home, into his sleep, into his relationships. Friends said he looked fragile, exhausted, deeply wounded, because some roles don't leave, they stay. They live in the actor's bones. Alan Turing became one of those roles. It brought Benedict acclaim, awards, industry respect, and it also brought emotional collapse. Chapter 8. The Hollywood Demands That Almost Broke Him. Hollywood has a way of devouring sensitive actors, and Benedict is one of the most sensitive souls the industry has ever seen. He never wanted the fame, the media circus, the public scrutiny, the merchandise, the celebrity life. He wanted craft, art, honesty, but Hollywood wanted the opposite. More appearances, more interviews, more commitments, more roles, more public exposure. Benedict became exhausted, burned out, emotionally depleted. He once said, "I am constantly afraid I won't have enough left for the people I love." It wasn't fear of failure, it was fear of emotional extinction. Chapter 9. Marriage, Fatherhood, and the War of Priorities. When Benedict became a husband and father, everything changed. Suddenly, his career wasn't the center of his world, his family was. But fame doesn't respect family. It doesn't pause. It doesn't wait. Benedict feared he was losing himself, and worse, losing his presence in his children's lives. He admitted, "I don't want to become a ghost in my own home." So he stepped back. He refused roles, turned down interviews, guarded his children's privacy fiercely, learned how to say no. And in doing so, he saved himself from emotional collapse. Chapter 10. The Loss That Broke His Heart. The deepest wound came when Benedict lost his father. Timothy Carlton wasn't just a parent. He was Benedict's anchor, his wisdom, his gentleness, his moral compass. When he died, Benedict's world shifted. The man who taught him kindness was suddenly gone. Benedict continued working, but those who looked closely noticed the sadness. He didn't sparkle the same way. His smile carried weight. His eyes carried grief. Losing his father changed him forever. Chapter 11. Public Love, Private Pain. People assume famous actors have thick skin, but Benedict is the opposite. He feels everything. Every insult online, every criticism about his looks, every cruel joke about his face, every dig at his marriage, every rumor, every accusation, he internalizes it all because he grew up believing vulnerability was weakness, because Harrow taught him to hide emotion, because the kidnapping taught him fear, because acting taught him to feel deeply, because fame taught him to stay silent. Benedict carries wounds the public never sees. Chapter 12. What fame truly cost him behind every red carpet appearance, every magazine cover, and every film premiere. There is a man carrying trauma from a violent kidnapping, years of emotional isolation, the scars of playing characters who broke him, the grief of losing his father, the pressure of fame he never asked for, the exhaustion of constant public scrutiny, the fear of failing his family, and a heart that feels everything too deeply. He is extraordinary. But being extraordinary cost him the peace he once found in Tibet, the innocence he once had as a child, the stability he once dreamed of. Chapter 13. The Man. The world forgot to see. Benedict Cumberbatch is not the flawless genius the world imagines. He is human, delicately human, quietly human. A man who survived trauma, a man who carries sadness with grace, a man who protects his family fiercely, a man who gives everything to his craft, a man who hurts more than he lets on, a man who continues to rise, even when life tries to break him. Epilogue: a quiet survivor. He is not a tragedy. He is not a mystery. He is not an untouchable figure. Benedict Cumberbatch is a survivor of life's quiet devastations. A man who keeps choosing kindness. A man who keeps choosing art. A man who keeps choosing light, even after walking through darkness. And maybe that, more than any role he has ever played, is why he remains one of the most beloved icons of our generation. A man forged not by fame, but by endurance, by sensitivity, by heartbreak, by love. This is the truth the world never sees, and the truth that makes him unforgettable.